That'll be fine. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Neil here. I'm afraid I'm no Ricky Gervais, but I do share a common language with him at least. So I'm very happy to officiate today's session with you. I'm the Executive Director of the Innovative Learning Institute, and we've got a terrific set of showcase materials that we've got for you in this, our inaugural Film Fest, our Media Awards. This is just one of the various services that we offer at the ILI to help faculty get really excited and engaged about some of the cool things that you can do with all our latest technologies and gadgetry and things like that. Just a quick interesting note that we're live streaming currently in the Teaching Learning Commons as well, so you can go back and watch the madness afterwards if you want to. So we've seen an increase in the number of faculty that are creating video for their courses. We're always willing to help collaborate with you and help push the boundaries. And I want to thank a number of people that made this first session possible. I want to thank, obviously, all of those who submitted, whether or not they were selected as finalists or not. I want to thank the judges, Rob Garrick, the one and only Mike Johansson, Christine Cray, the only Colin Marthas that I've ever met in my life, who's done a fantastic job in this space as well, and Tracy Worrell as well as a fifth judge there. I want to thank the crew that have worked hard on this, the academic media staff. Many of you know them: Joe Zelazny, guy at the front here, Mary Beth Kuhn, Chris Hodge, and all the student workers that put effort in helping to create these assets for you as well. So the examples tonight, you're going to see some really good creative uses of video and other types of media that are being created here at RIT. And I hope that it gets you interested in creating more. We're going to do what we can to promote the heck out of the really good stuff that you're doing as well, so that other faculty can learn from the sorts of things that you're getting involved in. So enough from me. Hope you enjoy the show. Faculty and media staff will be available to answer any questions that you have, and do make sure you've got plenty of popcorn.
We have the lights up front.
We're going to do that. We're going to take care of all of that. Joe.
Okay, that right now. Just a little bit of intro to the videos. We're going to play about 3-minute clips of each of the finalists' videos. Some of them will start at the beginning of the video, and then sometimes there's about 2 or 3 clips where the video will start either midway or towards the end, but each clip will have a 3-minute segment that will be shown. So. Here's a review of the categories. Best lesson lecture, best demonstration tutorial, best presentation, best use of alternative media format, best student created assignments, and best animation. So we're going to start with, once again, thanking those judges and move to the best lesson and lecture. I'm just going to go clockwise, starting with Paul Ferber.
Or hire a lobbyist to represent your interest.
Up here, start Paul right at the beginning.
Today's topic is on interest groups, so I've stationed myself on K Street, a main street in Washington, D.C., which happens to have a lot of office buildings where many of the major lobbying firms are located. K Street has become an expression in Washington, meaning the lobbying industry, such as the K Street crowd, Walt Whiteness, and so forth. Interest groups, also known as pressure groups, sometimes known as lobbies, are an integral part of the political process. Interest group activity is an expression of public opinion, or at least the opinion of that group, which is why we focus on it here in this general segment unit about public opinion. People join interest groups because they want to advocate their opinion, and they believe that they will have more clout if they band together rather than acting as isolated individuals. And they're probably right. Now, interest groups are a part of politics that have, I think, something of a bad reputation. We generally don't like interest groups, except those that we're members of. They're okay. But we think that interest groups sometimes use undue political influence, maybe even illegal. They seek things that help their grubby little special interest, but undermine the general good. There's also the criticism that not all interests are represented in the interest group system, and that's probably right. I'd say, though, that most parents would probably not smile if they asked their child, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the kid said, I want to be a lobbyist. Most parents probably would hope that you'd be something else. But for whatever reasons, there are thousands of interest groups, and they are growing. Over the last several decades, the number of interest groups, however you measure that, has grown. They're organized around a shared interest. Many are organized around business or economic concerns. Now you would have your business interest groups, labor unions such as the AFL-CIO, professional associations such as the American Medical Association, the AMA. Another large group or body of groups are organized around specific issue concerns, such as the NRA and other associations that are for or against war restrictions on gun ownership, the Sierra Club, and all the other environmental organizations, all organized around an issue concern. Then another major grouping are based on group identity, where the group is organized around gender, race, ethnicity, or in the case of the 37 million members of AARP, age. Well, here's my membership card. I'm a member too. You know, not only does this help advocate for the interests of older people, it also gets you nifty discounts at hotels and car rental companies and so forth. And believe it or not, a free donut at Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next finalist, PR. Am I pronouncing this right? Mukund? PR Mukund.
You can keep on increasing your effort, nothing happens. And that is what causes frustration for most of the people. So the thing is, it's important for us to recognize that the effort will have, of course it has a relationship, right, on the result. It has an effect on the result. But there is a maximum point. After the maximum point, it sort of saturates. It flattens out. So if I want more, the thing to do is not keep increasing this, because that's not going to do anything. Once you've gone beyond this point, the thing to do is to go to the next level to make sure that the system of the universal intelligence provides you more potential so that, notice here, suppose I take this point, right? This is my amount of effort. With this much universal intelligence effect, this is the amount of result I get. But if the system has more, notice that I get that much, but my effort is the same. So the trick is, yes, I need to put in effort. Of course I do. But the important thing is, what can I do to make sure that if I want to keep increasing and keep going up in this direction, so if I want to see a lot of results for my effort, the thing to do is to study this relationship and find out what is that minimum threshold, because you need to go beyond that. You need to make sure that the system is giving you at least that minimum. What can I do to make that happen in the system? And what can I do to not only increase my effort, because I should increase my efforts, put in the effort, but along with that, what can I do to increase this so that I'm going to see more and more and more results? Now, don't you think it's the same? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. This works same as this. So I say that man, by the way, this type of transistor is what we call a MOSFET. That's the name used for it. I claim that there's no difference between the way a man works and the MOSFET works. So if you're very good at understanding this, then that can affect how you as a human being can function as well and actually be happy. Because the other thing too is if you put millions of these things together on the same computer chip, you know, it's all going to affect each other, it's going to create noise and so on. Just like we do, just like human beings. So you put like 10,000 of us in a small place, you know, we're not going to be yelling and shouting and creating all kinds of noise. So sometimes we lose track of the meaning of what we're doing. mainly because of all these interactions. But if we can connect hundreds of thousands of these things and make it do something useful, we can put hundreds of thousands of these things and make something useful also. So that's my point. Now, in conclusion, I just want to say this, right? I don't know if you like this or not, but if you think that, yeah, that makes sense, right? I claim that microelectronics actually is a field where we can study all kinds of problems that affect us and those around us, right? Not only that we can find solutions, not only that we can test it. For example, let us say that you have limited water resource, drinking.
Okay, and the final video from this category is Raj Murthy, and let me just back it up.
Hi. Now that we've looked a little bit about landing page best practices, I want to continue that conversation over to landing page testing. Landing page testing is a science to the point where it's almost entirely data-driven. While there are best practices for understanding what makes a good landing page, there is no substitute, unfortunately, for any component that can be objectively rated other than using something like click-through rates, conversion rates, or using analytics to see how far along your customer journey one particular landing page is capable of advancing you towards. So let me give you an example. So I started off by searching for free credit card reader. Assuming I'm a businessman and I want to open up a business or at least facilitate the use of credit cards as a means of payment in my business, this seems like a legitimate search. And understandably, Square, one of the largest and relatively new players in the market, shows up at the very top. So what I did was I repeated this same search twice, and I clicked on the top search result. Notice that I'm not signed into Google, which is, again, still a requirement to get more unbiased or less personalized results. So let's look at the two pages that I was able to get. These are the two landing pages of Square. Both actually take me to viable pages, which allowed me to either review a product. In this particular page, the small credit card reader, big possibilities. And as we discussed earlier, this is a legitimately well-designed and well-structured landing page. It has a major headline, a secondary headline, call to action, get a free reader, and of course some additional information about the chip and the information regarding roles in my organization and the things that they would be interested in, and a customized navigational output. The second was a little bit more surprising. Now, I wasn't signed into either of those, so I can understand that Square is trying to test these two versions of the page out to see which one would have a likely chance of converting me from just a viewer of this page to actually getting started. You notice this page takes a completely different view. Again, a customized navigation menu that is dedicated to this page. The headline here changes. It says start selling today. And the secondary headline says take care of your business anywhere with Square. And there's a get started call to action, of course, or contact sales, and additional information down as we have all come to expect.
So, the winner is
Correct. Ta-da! Nope. Get the sorry, that one. There we go.
Paul Furler, best lecture. Good job. Okay. So, Paul, lucky you. We've got a piece of glass that you can maim yourself with. Phenomenal. I do want to say it was very difficult judging all those 3 videos as well because they were all excellent. We particularly enjoyed yours. So congratulations.
I'd just like to give credit too to the production staff because I can do the content, but it wouldn't look half as good without Joe and his team.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Good job.
All right, so we'll move on to the next category. Next category is best demonstration and tutorial. We have Sean Foster, Sean Rommel, and John Wellen. And again, we'll start with Sean Foster and then move our way clockwise. So here go the lights.
Hi, this is Sean. In this lesson, I'm going to quickly go over how to drive a gear system with some particles using rigid body dynamics and some constraints. And then another question one of my students had was, what if you wanted to drive a secondary gear system? And a lot of the time, doing it with dynamics is okay, but you probably can get way more efficiencies by using an expression. So I'm going to go over that. So let's get started. I created just a cube inside of here. So I'm going to just emit particles from that cube. So going to particles, emit from object, and then I'm getting Alt V. I've got the particles created. I'll select those particles. Adjust some of the defaults there. We don't need that many. So under the emitter tab, we'll take that down to 30 seconds. And then let's also add some gravity to them. And if we had used an end particle system, we would just got gravity. But anyways, now we've got some gravity going on. Now let's set up our gear. So we will select the gear, and we will go to soft rigid bodies. We will make that an active rigid body. So here. Then we will need to make those particles collide with the active rigid body. So select the particles, shift select the gear, and go under particles and make collide. And then now the particles are colliding, but they're not driving the gear yet. So we can make them drive the gear by selecting the rigid body that we've created, which is the gear small teeth. And we'll go into the rigid body tab and turn on particle collision. And by default, the particles have a mass of 1. Take a look at this gear system. It also has a mass of 1. So if you wanted to change how fast this gear rotates, one of the things you could probably start with is modifying the mass. But for this example, I'm going to just have the particles, and there's a 1-to-1 ratio. So as you can see right now, if the particles hit it, it just goes flying off. So we need to constrain this to its location. So let's go under soft rigid bodies. Let's create a hinge constraint. 4 key. We want the hinge, right now the hinge is facing 90 degrees from where we want it to. So I'm just going to rotate that 90 degrees. So back into shaded mode. Now we should see sort of moving the way we want it to. Great. Okay, so now let's talk about having this gear drive this gear. And this is where just a little bit of knowledge about gearing ratios can help out. So I'm going to put some numbers down here. This gear has 12 teeth.
Okay, next is Sean Rommel.
First, the multimeter is turned on. It's going to turn on into the volts measurement mode. We will change it into the ohms mode. Next, we're going to measure the value of the first resistor from our lab. This is the resistor we will call R1. I'm going to put the 2 leads from the multimeter on either side of the pins. As they touch, we can see that it is now reading 981 ohms, or 0.981 kiloohms. I will next place this resistor in the breadboard. Following the lab handout, I'm going to put it in slot E1 and put the other lead of the resistor in slot E10, as illustrated. We will measure the next resistor. Repeating the measurement and touching the two leads, we see that this resistor is 985 ohms. Put this resistor in the breadboard, and I'm going to be very careful to make sure that the first pin that I put in is in row 10, adjacent to the pin from the first resistor. I'm going to put the next pin in row 20, so this will now be in E20. The first pin is in D10. We now have connected these two resistors in series. So I'm going to now measure the series resistance combination of the two added together by touching the leads on the far sides. And this is now just under 2,000 ohms, or 1.97 kiloohms, as you saw a moment ago. We will now measure the third resistor. This will be the load resistor in our test. As I touch the leads with the multimeter, I see that this is approximately 980 kiloohms. I'm now going to put it in row 20, so D20 would be the first pin, as you can see. And I'm going to put the other lead in row 30, so it will go into D30. These three resistors are all now in series. We will.
Okay, and the last finalist for this category is John Willen.
So 3 other innovative demonstration tutorials. Okay, and we also have certificates of nomination, which I didn't hand out a moment ago. So we're going to do that now as well. To Raj. Sean. So we asked the 3 to come down, and I'll present the award to the winner. So Sean had to leave, unfortunately, he's teaching tonight, but we have Sean Rommel and John Weller. And the award goes to John Welling.
Thank you very much.
Nice job. Thank you. Okay. So here are our certificate of nominations for Raj. There you go, Raj. You'll treasure this on your wall. Congratulations. And PR. Yeah. Yeah, you was for make sure he gets that.
So we move on to the next category, best presentation. And we have Christine Cray, Yang Yu, and Robert Newland.
In the first part of our course, we are looking into the elements and mechanisms of ritual, how rituals are put together and how they operate. We just finished examining ritual symbols and symbolic action. This week, we'll delve more deeply into 2 other elements of the ritual experience, imagery and embodiment. Our readings will take us to Nepal and Haiti. We've seen that ritual is a deeply complex human activity involving bodily movement, the manipulation of symbols, and all of our senses. One important element of ritual, though, is one that cannot be seen, and that is mental imagery. Very often in ritual, participants are guided by way of chants and songs to envision certain things and to imagine themselves as part of that imagery. Guided imagery is a term often given to this process in which ritual participants are intentionally guided so that they envision a certain set of images, often including images of them being healed by spiritual forces. What impact does this guided imagery have on the participants, their experiences, and their interpretations of their experiences? Guided imagery is a very common element in healing ceremonies that are led by traditional healers known as shamans. Guided imagery has also been adopted and elaborated by a new set of healers in the United States and elsewhere who did not grow up with these shamanic practices. In this unit, we will also consider embodiment, which is a term used for bodily movement and experiences felt through the body. Embodiment is a defining element of all rituals and what makes rituals so special among the different elements of social and cultural life. Ritual always involves the orchestrated movement of bodies. Things such as standing, sitting, kneeling, turning around, holding things aloft, marching, lying prostrate, washing, wearing special clothes, bowing, dancing, going into trance. These are common embodied experiences in ritual. Rituals involve all of the senses, which include the 5 senses that we commonly talk about in the US: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, but also other senses, including the sense of balance, vestibular sense, the feeling of one's body in space, proprioception, the feeling of pain, nociception, and the sense of temperature, thermoception. We want to consider how the various bodily movements and sensations in ritual affect the minds, moods, beliefs, and perspectives of the ritual participants.
Next is Jane Yu.
Hi, my name is Yang Yu, Assistant Professor of MIS at RIT. My research areas include text mining and social media. As we know, it is an age of big data. Every day we generate a huge volume of information. Take social media as an example. More than 2 billion people are now using social media, and it is a preferred communication way for people, especially the young generation. Given the popularity of social media, how to analyze such a huge data set efficiently and generate intelligence is a challenge for us. In this project, Dr. Chen Yin-Xu, researcher from Stockton University, New Jersey, my colleague Dr. Stan Oye and I will propose a framework to help us automatically gather and analyze unstructured data. Specifically, text from internet. We then use this framework to extract the emotion signals from basketball players' social media content by using sentiment analysis. And the captured signals are imported to predict model to forecast players' individual performance in the game. I hope this small video can give you a brief idea about how this process works.
We can take Miguel Lopez as an example. As a basketball player, especially a point guard, his in-game performance is closely related to his historical data. Most current performance prediction models are based on assessing his past achievements. Take total shooting percentage as an example. Daily game or training logs are tracked and aggregated. Miguel's profile is then generated by taking 3 sports competition seasons information. The information can become the base that we can take advantage of to predict his estimated shooting percentage in the future. Besides the total shooting, a long list of data will also be recorded, including field goals made and attempted, 3-point field goals made and attempted, free throws, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, fouls, turnovers, and more. Athletes are human beings. They are not machines. Like ordinary people, they have their own emotions, joy, anger, or sadness. They are affected by the environment or by things happening around them. They may feel happy and energetic in the sunshine, feel trusted, and be loved by receiving a sweet gift.
So sweet. Awesome.
Also, they are frustrated at seeing a room messed by a puppy.
Spike! Come here, boy, now.
All those emotions might influence their in-game performance. Analyzing the content they share on social media to explore their emotions and importing these signals into historical data-based prediction models will help to improve the accuracy of performance forecasting.
In this project, we actually analyzed more than 300 MB.
The last finalist is Robert Boone.
Chapter 1 in COTAC introduces us to a number of interesting points. But before I go to address those points, I want to bring your attention to the fact that while anthropology as a discipline really owes its origins to the early 20th century, the anthropological perspective has long been alive. Many of you may know the famous French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and perhaps you've even read something by him. Rousseau was very much interested in the natural conditions of humanity, having taken note of indigenous people who were brought to the shores of France. He, in particular, wanted to understand the origins of inequality, because issues of inequality had been accepted as natural among the French people of his time. What Rousseau concluded is that humanity in its origins, because humanity had no property, that differences between people were minimal. Therefore, the early origins of humanity did not include a situation of inequality. Inequality for Rousseau was a function of humanity's acquisition of property, property being the basis of material wealth, and therefore a factor in what distinguishes different opportunities between members of the same population or the populations of others. Now, I'm raising the issue about Rousseau not simply to talk about humanity in terms of its origins, but because Rousseau was an anthropologist of sorts. What he was doing was that he was comparing early humanity to the French society of his day. And I would argue that comparison is really one of the fundamental features of anthropology. Think of yourself. You meet somebody from another society, as you might on the college or university campus. Right away, by noting that people from elsewhere are different, you'll become more aware of the things in your own life that perhaps are habitual or you take for granted. So
So I'd like to invite the two finalists that are here to come down to the stage, have your photo taken, receive your certificate, and then we'll announce the winner. So, thank you. No Robert, teach you today. Okay, and the winner for this one, Dr. Martin, was wonderful. And Christine Gray is the recipient of this particular one. So we'll make sure that Christine gets the lethal glass object as we move forward. So great, thank you very much.
Can we move on to the other side of these circles? Next category is the best use of alternative format of media. So there's two in this category, two finalists. Kelly Martin and Nicole Scott is her student, and then Sarah Schley and Jessica Trussell. I should give a little explanation of what the alternative format is. This is something other than a video, so it could include a tool online. And in one case, Sarah Schley's, it includes a tool called VoiceThread. And in the other case, Kelly Martin's, this is the use of podcasts as a medium.
Jag är Nicole English, Turkey English, also English, James Kiani. Hello, my name is Nicole Scott, and I just introduced myself in Navajo. As a young child, I was taught that wherever I am, it is important for others to be able to identify who I am. With that, welcome to my first podcast. This podcast is a final project for my visual communications course. In this podcast, I will be interviewing Native American designer Jared Yazzie. The theme of this podcast is visual arguments, which we discussed in week 5. The first part of this podcast series will be going into the background of the artist and learning about what inspires him and how his culture influences his work. The second part of the series is where we will hear about a particular piece that Jared recently released titled Two Worlds. I hope you enjoy the first part of the series.
I'm the designer, I'm the screen printer, I'm the idea guy of OXDX clothing. I do the shipping, the folding, the artwork, graphic design, editing, styling, model prepping, sort of do everything. That's what I like about my brand, OXDX.
Hello, my guest today is Jared Yazzie. Jared is the founder and owner of the native clothing line OXDX, also known as Overdose. OXDX began in 2009 when Jared was a college student. Jared was raised in northern Arizona and is full-blooded Native American. A dreamer, he is called, who stayed true to his native roots. Most of his creations depict American Indian struggles, issues, and art. Jared Yazzie is strongly influenced by his native culture, street art, music, and the overall beauty of the world. Welcome, Jared.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for joining me, and I'm super excited to have you speak about not only yourself, but the inspirations behind your artwork, and also discussing a particular piece that you created recently. And I also understand that you just celebrated your fall release. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we did a full event for it this past Saturday and September 19th, and it was just great turnout.
You have a new clothing line out. What was the inspiration behind those pieces?
There's a lot of pieces in this one. I think we have close to 6 or 7 new pieces of art. But it was the whole vibe of it is misrepresented this time around, I think. I have a design called E-Chief, which played off of the Indians logo for baseball. And there was this act of rebellion like not so long ago where a lot of protesters were taking the patches off of like all the gear and the hats and everything that they had, and they would wear just like nothing, but you could still see the little stitch marks. And I sort of did a design off of that. So I have these little cut up symbol and it outlines, you can obviously tell it's the Indians logo, and it's just misrepresented up to where the feather is.
Apologize for the captions on that. I think we have them, but they didn't get applied to this particular YouTube version. So this is VoiceThread. I mentioned it's a tool. And we did a screen capture of what this tool looks like when you interact with it. So what I did there is I fast forwarded it in the screen capture so you can get a sense of, as the video or the content plays, students can comment. And that's what you're seeing, or you will see in just a moment. That's an example of the student comment at that point in time in the video. And there's several students that commented.
So, Kelly and Sarah, can we borrow you? Well, and Jessica as well. Jessica as well. Jessica's.
Oh, Jessica.
Jessica's teacher. I'll let you take them back. How's that? How's that? Am I being slow enough? That's good for you. Okay, there you go. Thanks. Thank you. I don't know if I'll smile. Thank you. And there you go. That's your certificate. I smile. There you go. And the winner is what? Where am I going this one?
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, here it comes.
Sarah and Jessica. Sarah and Jessica. I think we have another one as well. Yep. Again, incredibly difficult to reach a conclusion. This is great work, so thank you. Thank you. Good job. Here we go.
This category is best student created assignment, and we're going to start with you.
Refugee migration from natural disasters and war-torn countries are some of the biggest headlines today. Every year, there's an average of 1 million war casualties, 90,000 tornadoes, 200,000 hurricanes and tsunamis, and 500,000 earthquakes. The current death toll from the unrest in Syria is 6 million people and growing. On their journey, these refugees are mistreated and starving, and some die before ever reaching a destination. Every day, Europe takes in an average of 8,000 refugees from Syria and Iraq. However, many of these countries are already crowded and lack the resources to care for migrants, so countless people in need are turned away. What can we do about this? By harnessing data from social media, news outlets, public records, and sales, we can create a dynamic model to predict where refugees are going and the scale of their movement. We plan to turn the data into usable visual information, providing it to governments and relief organizations. With our help, these groups can plan more effectively and allocate their resources to help refugees and save lives. Resources for Refugee Rescue. That's us, R cubed. Why should lives be lost because of something they have no control over? Let's take control. Help save a life.
Next is Colin Mathers.
W.D. Ross was a Scottish philosopher born in 1877 who was known for many things, one being his prima facie duties.
Ross criticized previous theories such as utilitarianism and thought that what produces the most happiness is not necessarily always what makes actions morally right.
Ross's prima facie duties are a list of 7 duties which a person can refer to determine what they ought to do in any situation. We will now discuss each of the following duties in greater detail. The first duty is fidelity, which are duties that arise from promises. There are 2 types of promises, explicit and implicit. We will now go over an example of each. An explicit promise is a promise that is straightforward and agreed upon. For example, Becky told Tina she would help clean her room tomorrow. She should keep her promise even if John, who has a messier room, asks her for her help at the same time. It's her duty to keep her original promise to Tina. An implicit promise is a promise that isn't as straightforward. For example, Tina and Becky eat lunch together every Tuesday. On one Tuesday, however, Becky wants to eat lunch with John. Would Becky be breaking her promise to Tina?
Next is reparation, which is the duty to make up for past injuries. In this example, Shelly gets mad at Sam for no reason and breaks his bike. Shelly should loan her bike to Sam at least until Sam can get a new bike or get his fixed.
Gratitude is the duty to repay past kindness. Jerry buys his girlfriend Megan a car. Now Megan is obligated to give Jerry rides when he needs them, as long as she is not busy.
Justice is the duty to ensure that people get what they deserve. Trevor has been working at the same company for 2 years. He's a very hard worker and his work ethic exceeds that of his coworkers. His boss notices his hard work and Trevor gets a promotion.
Next is beneficence, which is the duty to increase the virtue, intelligence, and pleasure of others. For example, Bob asks Rhonda whether she wants pizza or burgers for dinner. Bob himself does not have a preference. Rhonda, however, would much rather have pizza. Therefore, they should have pizza since it will increase Rhonda's happiness and not affect Bob's.
Self-improvement is the duty to increase our own virtue and intelligence. Abby has a math test tomorrow. She hasn't studied yet and knows she should if she wants a good grade. But Abby wants to take a nap. Even though she doesn't want to, it's her duty to study.
Lastly, non-maleficence is the duty to avoid injuring others. In this scenario, Julia is running a marathon when she sees a group of people standing in her way. She could run through them, possibly injuring or knocking someone down, but it is her duty to avoid the pedestrians, even if it costs her more time.
Voss created this list as a general guideline for a person to determine the morality of their actions. Some critics think there could be other duties added, but overall, Ross's prima facie duties cover most actions of life.
Created using how to.
Last in this category is Rob Garrick's students.
My name is Sean Shearer. Today I'm going to be going over a basic fluid mechanics problem. Today's question asks us to find the minimal tensile strain for a pipe used, and the requirements are 1-inch nominal pipe size using Schedule 80 counting pipe size, which is graph over here on the right, and using a safety factor of 6. And the typical system pressure is going to be about 3 KSI or 3,000 PSI. So first, I'll take this chart over here. And we have the pipe inside diameter over here on the right. And then we have the nominal size and schedule. So we're going to be using schedule 80. So we'll be using this column. The nominal pipe size is here. So we're just going to intersection. And it looks like our ID. It's going to be 0.957. So organizing this information, we have the ID 0.957 inches. And then your OD, it's just going to be 1.315 inches. And just make this easier, the way to remember our thickness is going to be OD minus ID all over 2. See this up real quick. Okay, and also we need a radius. Our internal radius that is, which will be ID. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we're making a solution here. Probably find out if this is a thick or thin walled pipe, which is the first step in finding the appropriate formula to use. So basically, the formula for that is the ID. So test the ID divided by the thickness. That equals about 5. And then the limiting factor, the determining factor would be if it's less than 10, then it is a thick wall. So we use that formula. The formula given is the first pressure typically equals the thickness times tensile strength over 0.6 multiplied by the thickness plus the radius.
Okay, so if those responsible for these students performed videos like to join us, and if we have any professional voiceovers as well in the audience, please feel free to join us as well. Thank you. Colin and Yang. And Rob, who couldn't be with us because he's probably teaching. So, Colin,
Yes.
we would be delighted to make those certificates for the students.
Yes, very good at that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. What about?
Yeah.
Right, I'll give it to you. Why not? Yeah. Very good. Lovely. Thank you. And Yang, one for you too. So, I'll wait for Ian, otherwise he'll just give me grief for the rest of the week otherwise. So. Thanks. I'm going for a record. A number of cheesy grins I can give him one evening. Right, here we go. And so, for the student created, I've got this correct, haven't I? The winner is the Shia Yang. Come back down. Yang Yu. Congratulations. Here is the glass award. Well done. Congratulations. Very pleased for you.
Hey.
And last but not least,
Best animation, and we'll start with Katie Bush.
Hi, my name is Katie Bush, and I work in the School of Education Arts. Your instructor has given you an assignment to create a video presentation. This might seem like a scary task, but I'm here to give you tips so your video is easy for you to create and looks and sounds great. I'll only be covering the technical details for setting up and doing the recording, so check my courses for additional requirements for the assignment. Let's start with what you want to use to record your video. Probably the quickest option is to use a smartphone or tablet. Everything you need is right in this device, and you probably already know how to use it. If you have one, this is my best recommendation for recording your video. Another option is what I often use to record my video, a laptop with a built-in webcam microphone combination. With this option, you need some video recording software, but you may already have it on your computer, or you can get it for free. The Wallace Library has certain laptops you can reserve. It should have this capability too. If your computer does not have a built-in webcam or microphone, there are USB ones like this that you can buy or borrow. USB webcam microphone combinations often come with video recording software that you can install. The final option you can use is a digital camera capable of capturing video. You just need to pull the video off your memory card and put it on a computer. Any of these options will work, just use whichever you have access to and are most comfortable using. After you select your recording device, you need to determine where to record. I have 3 tips for you. First, find a place where you will not be interrupted by people or pets and where there is no background noise. Close windows and doors. Make sure to unplug, remove, or mute anything that could make noise. If you're signing your presentation, you can even mute your microphone so there is no sound recorded at all. The second tip is to have a simple background. It's best to record yourself sitting or standing in front of a solid empty wall, clean office, or other background without clutter. This will allow your viewer to focus more on you. The third tip is to make sure light is shining on your face. Don't stand in front of a window or lamp. The light should be above you, in front of you, or both. Okay, you've picked a recording spot. Now to set up your device. Place the camera where you can see your head and torso in the recording. We don't need to see your whole body. If signing, ensure your signing is entirely visible in the video recording. Fill the screen with you, not the whole room, so that means get close to the camera. You'll also want to be close enough so the microphone can pick up your voice. If you're using a smartphone or tablet, the #1 rule is to record horizontally. I cannot stress this enough. Also, prop your device up on something so it's not shaking around during the recording. Now, for what you should look like on screen. Make sure you're dressed appropriately for the audience. Generally, this means a professional-looking shirt. Wear solid clothing, so no patterns, words, or logos. Avoid red, black, and white colored shirts because these colors are hard for the video to pick up. Blue and earth tones are best. Pastels are okay. When on the screen, look at the camera lens because eye contact is very important. If this seems odd to you, have someone sit in the room with you and position the camera by their face. present to that person, and it will look like you are looking at the camera.
Okay, it's recording time.
And now we move on to the two animations from Colin Mathers. So we'll play snippets of each. We'll start with.
In our examination of dualism, we saw some interesting explanations for the correlation between high levels of integrated electrical activity in the right prefrontal cortex and the feeling of love. In the interactionist account, the feeling of love causes those high levels of integrated electrical activity in the right prefrontal cortex. And in epiphenomenalism, the causation is reversed. In parallelism, the correlation is strangely accounted for by pre-established harmony between the mental world and the physical world. Isn't the best explanation for the correlation between high levels of integrated electrical activity in the right prefrontal cortex and the feeling of love is that they are actually one and the same? Materialism is the view that everything in the universe is physical or material. Here we'll examine three different materialist views: reductive materialism, functionalism, and eliminative materialism. According to reductive materialism, kinds of mental states are identical with kinds of brain states. As you see in this diagram, the visual sensation of the phone screen is neither caused by nor causes the brain state that it's correlated with, but is actually identical to it. For lack of a better name, we'll call it brain state 5872. Likewise, the feeling of love neither causes nor is caused by the high levels of integrated electrical activity in the right prefrontal cortex, but is actually identical to it. Here's an analogy. We know today that the musical note C# is identical with a particular sound wave. It's a mistake to say that the sound wave causes the musical note or that the musical note causes the sound wave. They're actually just one and the same. The same is true of high levels of integrated electrical activity in the right prefrontal cortex. We're not saying that that brain state causes the feeling of love, nor are we saying that the feeling of love causes the brain state, but rather that they are one and the same. Reductive materialism says that kinds of mental states are identical with kinds of brain states. So not only is your feeling of love identical with high levels of integrated electrical activity in the right prefrontal cortex, but also my feeling of love, and your best friend's feeling of love, and your best friend's mother's feeling of love. They're all identical with this brain state.
Okay, and then the second example from Colin.
Now let's consider some objections that have been raised against Pascal's wager. First objection says, my beliefs are not under my control. I myself would love to believe in Santa Claus again. I wouldn't even have to believe it for 12 months. Just the month of December would be fine. Christmas has a little extra magic when you believe in Santa Claus. Unfortunately, when I was in the first grade, a friend of mine who had an older brother spoiled the magic of Christmas for me forever. And no matter how badly I want to believe again, it ain't gonna happen. I'm still angry at Rod Myers for doing that. To assess the merit of this objection, it's helpful to examine a distinction drawn by philosophers, a distinction between two different kinds of control. First, immediate control is the power to do something just by willing to do it. So if I will to raise my right arm, it happens. That's all it takes. It's just the act of will to get the result. But it doesn't seem that we have immediate control over our beliefs. Take, for example, the phrase, seeing is believing. If I look at a clock from close range, I don't choose whether to believe the clock is there. The belief that the clock is there happens without any decision on my part, without me choosing it. And I could not choose to believe that the clock isn't there and have it happen. Now, I want you to imagine that an eccentric billionaire offered you $1 million to change your mind about whether we are alone in the universe.
If you believe in intelligent life in other parts of the universe, start believing that there isn't, or vice versa. And no cheating, he will test you with brain imaging technology to confirm that you aren't just saying that you have changed your mind, but you will have to genuinely show that you have changed your mind. Would you attempt to earn the $1 million? And if so, how would you go about changing your mind? I know I would try, and I would do things like hypnosis, maybe daily affirmations. Pascal's advice to non-believers is simply fake it till you make it. So although we do not have immediate control over our beliefs, it does seem plausible to think that we have long-range control. Long-range control is the power to do something by engaging in activities that bring it about.
Okay.
So, Katie and Colin, no expenses spared to RIT's fiscal responsibility. Ian, a paid representative of the ILI, had to leave early because he's got to pick his 2 kids up. So this is selfie time. That's okay. They do it in the Oscars. We'll be fine. We'll get away with it. All right. Here we go. You ready? You've got to get in close. All right. You don't pay me enough. All right, they don't pay you enough. Here we go. So, Katie, there's yours. And Colin, excellent work as always here. And we have the winner. It's very close. But Katie, we felt that your session was absolutely fantastic. So, congratulations. Thank you. Very good. I never saw it very quickly. I'll get you right there. There we go. Perfect. Good job. Thank you. So thank you very much. We have, go ahead, I'll let you take this bit away.
Yep, so special recognition to all of the nominees that were not finalists. Ben Barella, Blanca, oh gosh, La Pisco Incinas, and Ronald Von Bulo.
Good job. Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming. We can continue to assist you with the videos if you need help. This is the first of many such events that you can look forward to moving forward. We appreciate your feedback and your comments, but we hope you had a good time. Enjoy the popcorn. There's still a ton of sweeties that you can take with you. Sorry, wrong audience. Candy. There's still some candy there. So feel free to take some candy with you on your way out as well. So thank you. Have a good evening. Thanks, guys. I suppose.